everybody, and welcome to another episode. This is episode number 3 of Your Personal Record. I'm Adam Realman, your host, where we talk about music. And I'm really excited today to take some time and talk with my new friend, Jeremy, right over here. Now, let me tell you a little about Jeremy. Jeremy is a music blogger, blogs about, not just rock and roll. We're talking about like everything, stuff that I have no idea about, like modern classical. And I hope you'll tell us a little about that. He's on Twitter, and we met on Instagram. His, what do they call it? A handle on Instagram? His name on Insta, a handle's maybe for a CB radio. I'm sort of dating myself here, but you can find him. How about this? You can find him on Instagram as An Earful Music. So friends, let's welcome Jeremy Shatan. Hey, how are you, Jeremy?
I'm doing well. How are you, Adam?
All right. That was sort of a mouthful, but yeah, I'm doing well. You know, it's winter here in New York, as you well know, as a native New Yorker, and wow. So we're kind of getting hit a little, with the snow this year. We haven't had a whole lot of that in the past couple of years, but we're sort of getting a 1-2 punch on that one. Which sort of can potentially impede on the record shopping, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
I haven't been doing much of that lately anyway.
Well, I mean, judging from what's in back of you there, you probably don't have to. So you grew up, you're actually a real live native New Yorker. You don't see too many of those anymore.
Yeah. I grew up on the Upper West Side, 101st and Central Park West. And I've lived here pretty much all my life. I did a stint in Brooklyn. I did a stint at college. But other than that, I've been on the island of Manhattan this whole time.
Nice. And what are your favorite shops in Manhattan? Well, really, Manhattan is sort of dwindled, but within the boroughs.
I love Record Grouch in Greenpoint. That's a great shop. It's so tidy and well organized, and his stuff is always clean and well priced. I also love The Thing, which is just a couple blocks from there.
All right,
The Thing is a thrift shop. Do you know that spot?
Oh, it's anxiety. I walk down to that basement, and it's like, I'm not a claustrophobic guy. I'm okay in any situation.
It's insane, but it's just that being surrounded by records, it's so much fun, and you just dig through. It really is digging because nothing is organized at all.
I mean,
but I found a couple of things there. Yeah.
The first time I went into The Thing a couple of years back, I went in with my son. We went to Record Grouch. Let's check out The Thing across the street. And, we're looking upstairs, the ephemera, all the tchotchkes and books. And then we make our way to the back. We go downstairs. And the sound sort of dampens as because it's just so dense, and the aisles are so thin.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just floor to ceiling records.
You do think if a shelf fell on you, nobody would know for like a couple of years, probably.
And that's what freaks me out. And so I walk down, the path to the left. My son walks down the path to the right. And at a certain point, I'm yelling for him, and he doesn't answer. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But that's a crazy shot. I mean, have you actually like scored some good stuff at The Thing?
I have, but I'm having trouble remembering exactly what I got there. It's been a couple of years, but yeah. I know at Record Grouch, I picked up from the crates out front for $1 a copy of Ray Charles' Genius Hits the Road. I bought it for the cover because the cover is this brilliantly beautiful, it's like yellow and this like high res photo of him. But it plays great, and it's turned out to be one of my favorite Ray Charles records. I got it for $1.
See that? Academy is also Academy in Brooklyn.
Academy is great.
Ooh, both academies. 12.
All the academies. Yes.
Yeah, and Oak.
I also love Rough Trade. Especially for new stuff. Their used selection, but for new, it's the best selection in the city.
Now I'm sure Rough Trade and the one in Williamsburg is closing for a bit, and they're moving, and we don't know where they're moving.
It's very sad. It's been a while since I was there. It was a wonderful place to go hear music, to go buy records.
Yeah.
The book selection was incredible. People there were always friendly.
It was really the last thing that I got there was the Rough and Rowdy Ways, the gold vinyl.
The gold one, yeah, I ordered it from them.
Yeah, I said it because they're like the only place that had it on pre-order. It's like I can't miss out on this one.
I know, and I was waiting because Dylan put it up on his site. It was just black vinyl. I was like, I think there's going to be something a little more interesting than that.
Yeah,
just for fun.
And there was.
And then that popped up, indie exclusive gold vinyl. I was like, yeah, now I'm going to get it.
Yeah. Now that was on your blog, one of, or if not the record of the year, in your opinion?
Yeah, number one on my top 25.
Wow. So, I mean, did you buy the other 24? Did you, how do you go about kind of crafting a greatest, yearly greatest hits? And this is just rock, because you do a bunch of greatest hits. It was an electronic one that you were talking about, and modern classical. And I mean, it takes a lot of time to just listen to everything. But tell me a little about
the top 25. The thing I love about the top 25 is that it's genre non-specific. That's got everything in it. Okay. Whatever, it's the list of records that just grabbed me the most, that sustained me, that I really just needed to listen to, that demanded to be listened to. Other than the ones where you'd be like, oh, hey, yeah, I like that record a lot. That was really good. Let me go listen to that again. Those might be on the genre specific list. I'm like, those are all excellent records. But the top 25 ones are the ones that really got me. So Dylan, Bonnie Light Horseman, Molly Joyce. I mean, all these things, you just get them over the year, and at the end of the year, you just look back and you're like, what were the things I really listened to the most that I had to listen?
What's interesting about that, I don't think that I've bought 25 new records, records, I should say, that came out this year.
Yeah.
This year. I mean, I'm sort of all over the place, and yet I keep going back to what I know.
Right. Well, with last year, for example, and I think this is pretty emblematic of usual years, I bought a number of them as they came out, like Bonnie Light Horseman. I pre-ordered in December 2019. I knew it was going to be fantastic. And then the Dylan. But usually it's about listening on Spotify, I have to say. I have a very, very organized way of using Spotify to keep track of things, to break things down with multiple playlists. And I keep track there. Last year, I listened to over 70,000 minutes of music on Spotify. So I really use it as like professional account.
Right.
And the things that I really, really like, then I'll buy. Some things I get as promo copies, because I'm going to review them. But I really try to buy the things that are on there. Now, sometimes, in the case of Molly Joyce, for example, I mean, I got a promo download of that, and there is no physical product there.
Right.
There is no physical Frazee Ford record. You Can Be the Sun, a fantastic record. I would love to have that on vinyl. But as far as I know, it's still just a Bandcamp download. Right. So I'm kind of biding my time with that one. But usually, like come January, I'll look back and I'll go, you know what, I need to cherry pick and add these and really support that artist. Because
it's a very interesting way to find new music on that,
Yeah.
Bandcamp certainly is really, I think a lot of bands now, especially now during COVID, are moving towards that platform where it really is just worldwide. And if you like this, listen to that. And different labels are coming out with things.
Great editorial in there too.
Yeah, and
really
you can get the digital and hard copy media, directly from the artist or from the label.
Love it.
And that's, I mean, it's Bandcamp.
If you can make playlists on Bandcamp, I would probably use that too, just because there's some things that are only there. And then at the end of the year, when I'm assembling my best ofs, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this Spotify playlist doesn't have that because it's not on Spotify, which is fine. That's the artist's choice. But it's just as a matter of like keeping track of things. Sometimes it's like I'm about to hit publish and I'm like, whoops, almost forgot. Just because you get kind of used to looking on Spotify just to keep track.
Right. See, I don't even know I know what Spotify is. I've never dealt with it.
It's a jukebox of 10 million songs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I mean,
look, I wish to heck that they paid people better. And there's a whole lot of arguments about why that's not working the way it should, and some of it has to do with the way labels license the music to Spotify, because the labels are standing between the artist and Spotify, and there's a funnel going on. And I wish to heck it were better and that it made more money for artists, but I really depend on it to keep track of things.
Well, if everyone will like you, where you listen to it on Spotify, you like it, you're going to go out and buy it. So, it's almost like a commercial for buying the physical copy of the album.
Yeah.
Or I guess a download to a lesser extent. But, I mean, you seem like you really want that physical copy.
I do like the physical copy. I mean, I don't use my iPod the way I used to. So having just a digital download, I'll just listen to it on my laptop, like while I'm working.
Yeah.
But, usually when I'm out and about, I just have my phone with me. So I'll probably just listen to Spotify on the street or a podcast or something.
Now, I mean, your taste in music, again, from what I've seen on the blog and from what I've seen on your Instagram, is ridiculously eclectic. I mean, and we're talking, I always thought that my taste was, eclectic, but it really isn't. It's like, metal, new wave, punk, and then, we'll do some country and assorted thing here or there.
Yeah.
But you're way the hell all over the place. So tell me about just some of these genres that I probably don't even know about.
When it comes to music, to me, I just have so many different kinds of hungers, you could say, or obsessions, and I'm always just going down these different pathways to find something that's going to satisfy that's going to, I like to say I'm looking for things that are going to engage me, body, soul, heart, and mind. So some things are kind of cerebral, some of classical music can be kind of, you're reading about microtonality, you're reading about compositional techniques, and then you're listening to it and your mind is engaged. Although I'm usually still tapping my fingers somehow or tapping the foot, but and then you're listening to something like folk music that just cuts right to you with lyrics and acoustic guitars, and I just need all those things. And I'm not really sure where it developed, but I think I grew up in a household that had an older brother. He listened to a lot of jazz. He listened to a lot of what we now call classic rock. So I heard all that coming from him. My father was all about classical music, although he also loved the Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and the Yardbirds. So, so that was coming in that way. But when he was at home, it was like WQXR, classical music, deep booming voices coming through my bedroom wall with talking about Beethoven, and that was his thing. Even Mahler to him seemed a little avant-garde. And I listened. So I started listening to things like Berg, Webern, Schoenberg, the Second Viennese School, and he would say, "Oh, Jeremy, you're the family's avant-garde." I'm like, these people all died before I was born. How can that be avant-garde? That's the music of, that's our music of our history. That's
right. And
so I think just kind of like picking up these threads and finding them really interesting, and then just following through on it. And something happened a number of years ago where I had kind of lost touch a little bit with the contemporary classical scene. And what happened was a friend of mine died, this guy, Ralph Kaminsky, and I went to his memorial service, and I hadn't realized that he had transformed from a Wagnerian into a contemporary classical junkie. And he just loved this stuff. And so I met some of the people the musicians he was supporting, and now I'm on the board of 2 ensembles, and I just love it. It's just the amount of wonderful music coming out of that scene. It's overwhelming. And since I have the blog, I get, all these emails. And so I'm just trying to keep track every year, hundreds of great things. And then, I don't know, I heard Kraftwerk at some point, and then I had to hear more electronic music. And I see it back there.
That's
reissues. I just, getting the ambient records back in, the early 80s. I want more. I want more of that. What caused me to pick up a Cluster album when I was in high school? I don't know. The cover. My one big regret is I used to go to St. Mark's Sounds, and they had all the Noy records. Did you ever go to St. Mark's Sounds?
Of course.
So they had all the Noy records, which are now worshipped.
Yeah.
And they were always 25 cents. 25-cent record meant that the people who ran Sounds thought it was garbage.
With the big pink.
Yeah, the huge black and white sticker on
you
it.
can't get off.
Right.
I mean,
the thing I found about the sounds round stickers, when I pull out a record that has one on it now, those fall off. They dried up and blow away.
I
But
think
the big white ones.
It depends on the year.
Yeah.
Because some of them, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do.
They'll take the cover right with it.
Well, yeah, they're not going to come off. Some of them, some years of the pink one, the adhesive wasn't good,
right?
And it just kind of cascades off.
So it just blows my mind that why did I spend $4.99 on a cluster record, but I wouldn't spend 25 cents on a Noi record? I would have a complete collection of Noi records that would have cost me $1.
When you see now, in 2021, the prices of records that have the St. Mark's sound stickers on them.
Oh yeah.
Anywhere from 25 cents to $3.
See, I like to go the other way. For example, do you know about the Archive for Contemporary Music?
They moved, yeah.
Yeah, they moved, but they used to have the record sales twice a year.
Yep.
They became Manhattan's biggest record store for 3 days or whatever.
Yeah.
So I used to always hit those up. And I remember I found a soundtrack and it had the sticker from Footlights on it, $25, and I got it for $2 from them.
Wow.
I was like, well, they were trying to sell this at Footlights. Footlights closed and probably shipped all their stuff to the archive.
Exactly.
Or sold it to them. I don't know
wow.
the details, but I was like, okay, good. I'm going to buy this.
Are you involved?
Turned out not to be that great a record.
What was that?
Turned out not to be that great a record. But.
So are you involved with the archive at all? On the board?
Well, my brother was on the board, but I've donated over the years, and I'm always observing what they're up to, and I hope that they get this new thing up and running. And I drive up to the Hudson Valley to go through that sale.
For those that don't know, the Archive of Contemporary Music is a store, not a storage house, but a library.
Yeah.
Of almost every single physical media copy of music.
They're trying to collect one of everything.
What a daunting task. And they've been around. I mean, I knew of them. It's got to be at least 30 years already.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother was on the board. My friend David was on the board. And I know that, they have advisors like Keith Richards, and David Bowie was an advisor. So they're a serious place. And it's a great, great. I can only imagine if you're looking for that obscure record and you call them up, they'll type it in and
and it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, their place was it was in the like Soho or Tribeca, somewhere.
Tribeca, yeah.
Tribeca, and they were there for quite a while. And then they recently moved. You said Hudson Valley, like
I think it's Hudson Valley. They're going to have like a whole complex up there eventually.
Unbelievable. I mean,
it's great. I mean, they were talking about moving to Seattle, so I'm really glad that they stayed.
Yeah.
East Coast at least.
Yeah.
And they might have a performance space. I mean, they're thinking big, which I think
that's
either you think big or you just go out of business,
Yeah. And then you think big, you overextend, and you still go out of business. But let's hope that they don't. And I mean, we see them over at the FMU Record Fair also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure you've been to those.
Yeah, a couple of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was the first one in Hoboken. Again, this is going back. It's certainly, if not 30 years, close to 30 years. And they did it in Hoboken for a couple of years. Then they moved to Manhattan and did it at the church on A and maybe 9th Street, somewhere around there.
Yep.
And shuffled around a bit and ended up in Brooklyn at the that was the
Williamsburg place.
Like Greenpoint, Williamsburg, right around the corner from Academy.
Yeah, it was a good spot.
And it's for collectors, I mean, people who know, they all flock to the FMU show. I mean, it's dealers are saving their best stuff for FMU.
Mm-hmm.
Collectors are saving their money for FMU, and
you get Byron Coley there from Knitting Factory. I'm not Knitting Factory. You know what I'm talking about. I just lost it.
Come on.
He's up in Florence, Massachusetts. He's got that great label. I can't remember. He puts out like High Sheriffs of Blue, and
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
It's back here.
Take five. If I knew
No,
how
he,
to
he
edit.
brings all his stuff. He's a great guy to
Oh yeah,
chat with.
Norton Records would come out, you know,
Mhm.
and from Norton, again, back in the day, I was picking up insane, you know, test pressings of Sire record stuff. I don't know how Billy and Miriam had those, but now I got them. So, you know, it's wild. So what would you say is out of all of your entire collection, what's the
Mm.
one artist? Are you a completist, or, you know, a casual, but one artist that you have the most of?
I think it turned out to be, I did a count not that long ago for one of these Instagram polls or whatever, and I think it turned out to be Bowie. I have a lot of Bowie, especially if you bring in the CDs and the
Right.
45s. If you bring those into the count, I have a lot of Bowie. Something, you know, in the high 20s. I have a lot of Beatles, a lot of Hendrix. And then one that surprised me, I think I have 19 Kenyon Hopkins records. So I can go deep. Kenyon Hopkins was a soundtrack composer. He did soundtracks for The Hustler, Baby Doll. Those are the big ones that he knew.
Oh, okay.
That he did, that a lot of people know about. East Side, West Side, the George C. Scott TV series.
All right.
So he's one of my favorite musicians of all time. And those are all out of print, or 75% of them are completely out of print. So when I buy them, I just find them. When I find them, I just buy them. So
Right.
I ended up with 19 of those. And that's almost everything that was released of his music. So
Are we talking multiple copies? You know, like you'll see, I gotta have it.
Once in a while, I did buy a second copy of one of his just to see if it would play better than the one I had. And if it's the same, I'll just give it away to somebody that I think should have it.
Okay, like you're like the Robin Hood of record collecting.
Yeah, I've done that once in a while, or I might sell it. I might sell it. You know,
Yeah.
next time I go to Academy or whatever, I'll just bring. I have a little stack going.
Right.
I bought a better copy of Goat's Head Soup. It's still murky as hell, but that's just the way they made it. So now I have like a
you have any
tertiary
record
copy.
cleaning systems, or you just
I do have a spin clean or spin, you know, one of those things. Yeah. And it's a little bit labor intensive, so I don't use as much as I should. You know, I made this vow, oh, every time I buy a new used record, I'm gonna clean it. So
I wait till I have about 15 or 20, you know, new used arrivals, and
yeah,
spend an hour or two just.
and once in a while I'll play a record that I haven't played in a while. I'll be like, oh, this will probably benefit.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty good. You can see like a lot of these have plastic sleeves on them. You know, when I started that in high school, just I'd buy the VRP sleeves or whatever from J&R Music World, and just as soon as I bought the record, as soon as I peeled it off, it would go right in that plastic bag.
Yeah.
And it keeps the covers in VG plus or near mint.
Listen, it certainly minimizes
but still dust gets in there.
It'll get in the bottles.
In there, but it does.
It'll get in because dust never sleeps.
Exactly. I mean, you can't see them, but I have my 45s in, you know, acid-free boxes, and even though they get dusty.
They have the handles, those acid-free boxes, so that dust is just knocking its way right through the handles. You know.
No, these have no holes. These have no holes.
Oh, all right. So you got the deluxe ones.
Yeah.
I didn't.
They're a little hard to get off the shelf, but
you got to sort of, how do you do that?
One day it'll be crushed by.
But yeah, exactly. But I listen, it's you, as long as you're keeping your stuff, orderly. I mean, order. Yeah. How do you organize all of you? Because you've got, again, multiple genres. You go A to Z,
yeah. Or I'm strict A to Z by artist. Although there are a few inconsistencies in there with some movie soundtracks. I'll put by the title of the movie if it doesn't have a single composer. And then I have at the end is various artists, but A to Z, I love the Bedfellows. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of looking and seeing Boulez next to Bowie. Yeah, that kind of thing, and just having fun with it.
I got some,
because I'm like a shuffle play kind of guy sometimes. I used to make mixtapes that were, as you would imagine, wildly eclectic. Lalo Schifrin going into Public Enemy, and then so having them on the shelf this way with everything mixed together is it just kind of triggers those kind of associations.
Yeah.
And with the playlists that I do, like the best of the year and the things I do throughout the year, sometimes you're sitting there going, well, what is this? Is this hip hop or is it rock? And so I just don't have to think about that with my physical media.
And that makes, I mean, my system is all, I spent, about 5-7 minutes looking for the ZE Records comp that I had because I filed it next to Suicide, even though it technically should have been Various Artists.
It
even
should have
though
been Various Artists. I mean,
maybe ZE should get its own section. So it is what it is. I mean, but do you put it next to Kid Creole and the Coconuts? Can Kid Creole and the Coconuts go next to Suicide? I don't know.
Yeah, if I went by label, I mean, that would be crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. But it's for the most part, my stuff's, well, I mean, this area here is pretty much A to Z. And then I have another area down here, which is mostly my, like, New York, like CBGB's era stuff, which is probably the junk, the crux of my collection. So,
yeah,
the Ramones and, going, let's say chronologically, Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, and then it gets,
New York Dolls.
The Dolls and related, which is, Dolls, Thunders, Sylvain stuff.
LAMF.
Exactly. I mean, how many copies of that? Like, I have such an eclectic collection, but out of that eclectic collection is probably, 7 to 10, maybe 12 different variants of LAMF. I mean,
good man.
The same 15
I still
songs.
need to get one.
I mean, but I mean, it's I got a couple of originals, but then there's the reissues and the deluxe reissue, the super duper reissue and Lost 77 mix.
Oh yeah.
The 10-inch and the 10-inch live. Gee, should I get something new? No, I'm just gonna go with what I know. Go with the Thunders.
I'm usually like, I've got one of that already. I just need to get something new now. I want something fresh and
right. So when you go out to a record shop, like what goes through you? You're just rooting through the bins, digging.
I love looking at the new arrivals bin for one thing, because that's usually mixed genres. So I don't have to think like, what I'm in the mood for. I just look through that, and usually, because I don't have endless wealth, obviously, I will end up with a stack, and then I'll go through and I'll try to figure out what's on Spotify so I can listen to and get to know it. Then I'll make a note of it. I'll put it on my starred playlist on Spotify. But if I find something that's truly desirable, is something that looks really good, that I previewed on the turntable, sounds great, can't find it on Spotify, it's not on CD, that's what I really live for, is the stuff that is going to get forgotten. So,
interesting.
One of the tranches I found in that area was this, what I call kind of slick folk or studio folk. People like David Buskin. Like, nobody's ever heard of this guy anymore, but these people were on major labels and they had major production behind them, good musicians. Another guy was What You Feel Is How You Grow, or whatever. I can't remember his name right now, but just these kind of, they're folky, but they're a little bit pop, they're a little bit rock, and I really dig them. And most of them are completely forgotten. They're on Electro Records, Epic Records. These weren't obscure private press, outsider art pieces. These were
labels
aiming for success.
Are these just like,
didn't have it?
Are these one and done? We came out with a record, everything just fell apart.
Right, exactly.
Some of these artists have like, an oeuvre here.
Some of them do, yeah. Somebody contacted me. I shared the David Buskin record somewhere, and somebody was like, hey, he's still out there. He does these great records. I'm like,
isn't that great though? When you find that obscure gem.
And his daughter is apparently a great singer-songwriter,
That's great.
So these are the kind of things you find when you dig deep in a record store. And I'm usually not satisfied at a record store if I haven't literally looked at every disc in the shop.
Oh.
So not at the Thing, obviously, not at the Thing. I'm not a lunatic.
Be there for a couple of weeks.
But if I'm a record grouch, I'll literally go through all those bins.
Yeah.
But I'll start at the new arrivals, and then I'll just go through. And I just love looking at things, and you'll be like, how many records did Willie Bobo release? I mean, that guy must have put out 100 records. I don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad, but I just take note. Right. Sometimes I'll put it on my starred playlist to listen to later, so I can find something new and learn something,
That's
yeah.
That's terrific. I mean, what a way to and because you're just all. When was the last time you walked out of a record store without buying something?
Oh, that happens very, very rarely. I can't remember.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, being into so many different genres, so varied and eclectic,
Yeah.
there's got to be something that you don't have.
Usually there is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It could be a disco record, could be a funk
right.
record.
Right. I try to, get something. If I'm going into a shop, I try, but sometimes you can't. There's just nothing there.
Yeah, once
You,
in a while.
you
And
just
I'm usually also like, I don't want to spend $50 for a record.
right.
I don't want to spend even $35 for a record. Like 15, I'm going to have to be pretty sure that that's going to be like an all-time great.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm usually the one, there's some that are like Scott Walker, I might spend up a little more for those because, but he's a genius. So
knowing that 25 years ago, these were just a quarter at St. Mark's Sound.
Exactly. Those probably would have been a quarter too. Scott 1, Scott 2, Scott 3, Scott 4.
Exactly. Wow. That's crazy. But all right. So let me see here. Any newer bands that you want to talk about that, really just because of COVID can't tour, can't do shows, that you want to support, you want to plug and tell us a little about them?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a few that have risen to the top in the 21st century. I mean, there's obviously like your Fleet Foxes, Bon Iver, everybody knows about them. The people that I'm truly obsessed with are these amazing singer-songwriters, Holly Miranda and Richard Ofrichtig. These are two of my favorite musicians on the planet. They are both so talented and so committed to their art and so emotionally engaged with what they're doing that it touches me. And their craftsmanship, their passion, it just comes through in everything they do. And Holly Miranda's last album, Mutual Horse, was my 2018 #1 on the top 25. And Richard's Troubadour #1, that was the name of his 2019 record. That was my #1 of 2019. I mean, they're phenomenal records. I'm lucky enough to be friendly with both of them, so I have a little insight into their process. And I still don't understand how they do what they do. I mean, Richard told me he has like 400 songs written.
Wow.
And he's 30 something.
Are they local to New York?
And Richard used to be, now he lives out in Santa Fe. So he's, going down different pathways. And I can't wait for his next record. I know Holly Miranda's working on a new record now. I support her on Patreon. She does great cover versions of things. She's just one of the best singers alive right now. I can't say enough about her. Another one who has been a consistent, not only someone who gets better with every release, but I just love going back to her stuff, is Elsa Hewitt. She's an electronic composer from London, I believe, who it just has this fuzzy homemade feeling, but it's all electronic. She used to do kind of folk rock or indie folk. And a number of years ago, she transitioned to this electronic stuff. Sometimes it has beats, sometimes it has vocals, sometimes it just kind of floats into the ether. She does a lot of handmade kind of cassette releases. So I always try to get those cassettes, and she's wonderful. She's putting out another record this year. She's very, very prolific too, so.
And are all three of these artists, these are all independent artists, they put out their own work on their own, media label?
Yeah, Richard has his own label, King of Truth Records. Holly has been on various labels over the years, but right now I'm not sure if she's working with a label or if she's just going to put her out.
Right.
What her next record is.
I mean, I certainly will link to those artists in the description. This way, everyone can find them, everyone can know them. Are they doing any Zoom shows or live shows? I know a lot of these artists are.
Not that I know of. Elsa Hewitt is pretty active on Instagram. She'll post little clips of herself working on songs. You get to hear works in progress in her, bedroom electronics setup there. And Holly sometimes sing a song on Instagram, but they haven't done like a full-fledged, here I'm going to sit for 20 minutes and do a live stream concert. I would imagine if Holly puts out a record this year, which I believe she's working on, that maybe she would promote it that way. I think it's a good way to,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the artists that I like have done good work in that space, you know, whether it's Hamilton Lighthouser or Aoife Nessa Francis, who was on my top 25 last year. She does amazing live streams. I mean, she is, when I see her live, I think it's just going to be crazy, because if she's that good, you know,
Right, on a screen.
yeah. So,
well, that's certainly something to look forward to post-COVID, because
yes, I was a big concert goer, you know, probably 2 to 4 times a month, going out to shows, whether it was something at the Miller Theater, you know, world premiere performances of classical stuff, or going out to Rough Trade to see somebody, or Bowery Ballroom, Music Hall of Williamsburg, Knitting Fact, you know, National Sawdust, you know, just trying to get out and see people,
yeah,
and talk to them and hit up the merch table, you know, that kind of thing.
that's, you know, this is something that you know, we all miss at this point.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, we're
Baby's
sitting
All
here-
Right, one of my favorite clubs.
Which one?
There's something, Baby's All Right. There's
Where's
something
that?
about that place. It's called Baby's All Right. It's in Williamsburg. It's over there on Broadway. It's near Peter Luger.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Every time I go to a show there, whether it's His Golden Messenger or DJ Rupture, there's something that just happens.
Right.
Like there's a thing where you just feel levitated, you know?
What was your last show, you know, pre-COVID?
The literal last show was in March. I saw Talia Ensemble, which is this new music ensemble, and they were doing a world premiere piece at the 92nd Street Y. So I got invited to go down there and check it out. It was amazing. They had Charlotte Mundy singing. She's one of the best vocalists in that realm. She's with the Talk Ensemble. And I'm trying to remember who else was there, but it was my buds in the Talia Ensemble were playing at the 92nd Street Y. I had to be there. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
A few weeks before that, I saw UVTV out at some place deep in the heart of Bed-Stuy. And they're
right.
really, you know what, you would like UVTV. You should definitely check out UVTV.
UBTV.
Like UV and then dash TV.
All right.
Ultraviolet television. I don't know what it stands for, but they used to be down in Florida. Now they're here. They have 2 vocalists, guitar, bass, drums, kind of post-punk, atmospheric. I love their stuff.
I dig that.
I think you'd like it.
Let's say I was supposed to go see Rose Tattoo in was it Bed-Stuy or Bushwick? I'm not even sure. And they just never.
Literally the day before I started working from home, so it was like March 12th or something like that, I was supposed to go see Jonathan Wilson at Brooklyn Bowl. Jonathan Wilson is one of my all-time, like of the 21st century people,
right?
One of my all-time greats, and he is astonishing in concert. He can write, play, produce, sing. He does everything. I don't know if you know his stuff. Dixie Diller was on my top 25. And I was supposed to go and I was supposed to have a phone interview with him. And then I was supposed to go see the show. And I'm calling him at the airport. He was sitting in a hotel room at JFK waiting to get on a flight to get back home.
Get the hell out of
California. Because they canceled the concert.
Right.
But literally that's how close it was.
Yeah.
And then the next day I started work from home.
And Brooklyn Bowl, it's a great place to see a show.
You know, I've never been there.
Oh, really?
It's really odd. I've never been there.
But Brooklyn Bowl, I mean, it's decorated with the sideshow banners and
it's perfect for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a terrific place. And
a friend of mine saw Toots and the Maytals there.
Oh, wow.
Which now turns out to be their last show in New York ever.
That would make sense. Yeah. I was at the one of the last shows was Walter Lohr, you know, the Waldos at Bowery Electric.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend,
the
Gotham Rockets opened for him. And I'm embarrassed to say I left before Waldo's. I was so tired. My friends were on, then there was another band, then the Waldos, and by the time I would have gotten that, it was
sometimes you're like, really, 5 bands?
yeah, like in the middle of the week. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going. That would have been the last time to see Walter Lohr. I mean, I'd seen him dozens of times, but
that's right.
All right, whatever.
Or it's like when I saw Mobb Deep, I think there were 12 acts before Mobb Deep came on.
Wow. I mean, what do they play?
Somebody's nephew has to come on and spit a few bars, and then, so I was like, are we ever going to see Mobb Deep? But I stuck it out because I had to see that.
And so what time was Mobb Deep finally on?
I think probably around 1:00.
I mean, I caught the Lost 80s tour out at the Ford Amphitheater in Coney Island. The last, obviously not this past summer, but the first and second time they were around. And you look at the bill, and it's all these one-hit 80s bands, and it's like, oh my God, this is great, But there's maybe 10 bands on the bill, but they're only doing 2 songs. Most of them are synth bands, and everything is all set up already.
Right. So it's just bang, 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 bang.
Backline things. They're on for 10, 15 minutes. They do their 2 or 3 songs. They're off. Larry the Duck comes on, does the introduction. Next band is on. It's what a pleasure. It's almost like when you go to Belmont and you're watching the horses, and they do the race, and then you wait a couple of minutes, and then a second race, and you wait a couple of minutes, third, and it's just a beautiful cycle.
That sounds like fun.
It was a good night. It was a good night. But all right, so let's wind down right over here. Not anything, but any releases that you're looking forward to into 21?
I can't think of any, to tell you the absolute truth. I'm still embroiled in my Best of 2020 series. I'm just about this close to finishing the best of rock, folk, etc. That's a big, long list because, like I always say, I was born in '64, so rock and roll and all its ancillary things, it's in my blood, it's in my DNA. My mom used to wake me up with "I Want to Hold Your Hand" on a 45, when I was 1 year old. So it's just in there, and so it just becomes I just got to tell you about these bands. So I'm doing like 30-word reviews,
Yeah.
So, but like 50 records.
Switch to haiku and
super close. Yeah. So I've been taking things as they come. I'm keeping up with things. The new Shame album is fantastic. Drunk Tank Pink. If you like post-punk, you'll love that. It actually surprised me in a really good way because I liked their first album, but this one, the musical depth really surprised me. The lyrics can be a little simplistic sometimes, but the musical depth, and it just, immersed me in a way that I wasn't expecting. I've also been loving Amanda Berlind. She's a new artist to me. She just put out her first album. It's called Green Cone. It's electronic. It's a little Elsa Hewitt-esque, I would say. It kind of touches some of those nerves. It's really great. It has a whole visual album to it. And Susie Ibarra has a new record out called Talking Gong, which is beautiful chamber music. She's a percussionist and composer. So those are just a very, very few of the things. But I know one thing I'm really waiting for, and it came out last year, but the vinyl isn't shipping till this month, is Fleet Fox's Shore. I pre-ordered that a while ago. I'm not sure what the vinyl slowdown was. And I even got a postcard from Robin Pecknold, although it was printed, but from Robin Pecknold saying, we apologize for the delay. And so I'm really excited to get that. It's Spotify Fans First exclusive gold vinyl. Fourth side is etched. So I'm really looking forward to that. But it was from last year, so I will say.
But it didn't come out yet, so you're looking forward.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten it yet.
I'll tell. I mean, I right now I've got a lot of homework to do to check out a lot of the bands and artists that you talked about, so that I can at least catch up to your grasp of what's going on with new stuff. Absolutely incredible. It was great talking to you, Jeremy.
Fantastic to talk to you too.
And so let's do the plugs now. Of course, we will have all of Jeremy's information in the description. And I have to get my standard spiel here. There's only a third show. If you like it, hit like and subscribe and comment if you want. And you know what to do. If you're watching it, you know what to do. You're experienced at YouTube, probably more experienced than I am. So all the links will be down there. Some of the newer artists that Jeremy spoke about. And don't forget to check out Jeremy's blog, An Earful. On Blogspot, is it?
anearful.blogspot.com.
Okay, anearful.blogspot.com. And that will be in the description as well. So
Thank you,
Jeremy,
sir.
thank you so much. Hopefully when all of this COVID is over and done with, we'll see one another without face masks at Academy Records.
That would be wonderful.
Right on. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Friends, thank you. This has been another episode of Your Personal Record, and we will sign off now. I'll stop recording and then we can chat. Bye, everybody.